Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about 8 essential items you should grab every time you're at Costco. Whether you're boosting your emergency supplies or just staying prepared for life surprises, these are must-haves you can't afford to skip. Some of these might not even be on your radar, but they're crucial for survival. So let's dive right in. Number 1. Water filters. This is something you can't overlook. Sure, Costco has great deals on bottled water, and it might feel smart to stock up. But let's be real for a second. What if you run out? What if the shelves go empty and there's no more bottled water left? Worse yet, what if the tap water gets contaminated after a disaster? You need a backup plan, and that's where a good water filtration system comes in. Every time you head to Costco, make it a point to grab a water filter. And no, I'm not talking about just any basic filter. I'm talking about something that could actually save your life. Think of it like a Brita, but for real prep. Look for something like a LifeStraw personal filter, or, even better, a Big Berkey filter. These are serious pieces of gear. The LifeStraw, for example, can filter out bacteria, parasites, and even microplastics from up to 4,000 liters of water. That's over 1,000 gallons. Enough to keep you and your family hydrated for months if things go south. And here's the kicker. In a grid-down scenario where the power is out, you won't have the luxury of boiling water or waiting for fancy filtration systems to work. That's why something like LifeStraw is a game changer. You can drink directly from a pond, river, or even a questionable tap without worrying. Remember, water is essential. You can survive without food for weeks, but without clean water? You've got 3 days, max. Don't be caught off guard when the water gets shut off or contaminated. So, toss that filter into your Costco cart every time, and rest easy knowing you're prepared no matter what. Sleep easy knowing you're covered no matter what. Number 2. Bleach. Now, I know what you're thinking. Bleach? Really? But trust me, bleach is one of the most underrated prep items out there. Most people don't even think about it until it's too late. But when the grid goes down, water gets contaminated, or cleanliness becomes an issue, bleach can be a lifesaver. This simple, everyday product can make all the difference between staying healthy or getting seriously ill. 1 gallon of bleach can purify thousands of gallons of water. Just a couple of drops in a gallon of water can kill harmful pathogens, making unsafe water drinkable. Imagine being in a crisis where your water supply is low or contaminated. You can't just take chances with that water, right? But with bleach, you've got a quick, affordable solution right there in your supply closet. Places like Costco sell large 3-packs of Clorox bleach for around $14. Think about that. $14 can give you the power to purify thousands of gallons of water for your family. What's peace of mind worth to you? But that's not all. A lot of people overlook the importance of sanitation during a survival situation. When soap, clean water, and hygiene products are limited, bleach becomes a hero. It's not just for cleaning floors or countertops. You can use it to sanitize surfaces, tools, and even medical equipment in a pinch. Have you ever thought about how you'd keep things clean if the water gets cut off or your sanitation system fails? Bleach is the answer, and staying healthy during a crisis is crucial. One small infection from poor hygiene can quickly turn life-threatening. But with bleach, problem solved. Quick tip. Bleach does have a shelf life. You'll want to rotate it every 6 months to make sure it stays effective. But don't worry, just make a habit of picking up a new pack each time you hit Costco, and you'll always be ready. Recent events like hurricanes, wildfires, and even civil unrest show us how quickly clean water and hygiene can become a matter of life and death. That's why bleach isn't just a good idea, it's essential. Number 3, disposable gloves. You might be thinking, gloves? Really? But trust me, disposable gloves are one of the most overlooked yet vital items in any emergency situation. Let me break it down for you. There's been a major disaster. The power is out, water supplies are contaminated or limited, and personal hygiene has taken a back seat because it's just too difficult to maintain. Now, in normal circumstances, washing your hands regularly is a no-brainer, but during a crisis, clean water becomes a precious resource, and soap may be scarce. So, How do you plan to keep your hands clean while handling food, treating injuries, or even dealing with waste? This is where disposable gloves come into play, and they can literally be life-saving. Because in emergencies, the last thing you want is to get sick. When medical services are overwhelmed or completely unavailable, even a small infection can turn into a life-threatening issue. Disposable gloves act as a first line of defense, creating a barrier between your hands and harmful germs, bacteria, or viruses that could lead to illness. Think about how easily sickness spreads through food, through contact with contaminated surfaces, or even just by touching something that an infected person has handled. Gloves help cut down that risk dramatically. Let's not forget about injuries. In any survival situation, cuts, scrapes, and more serious wounds are likely to happen. If you're handling someone else's injury, you're risking exposure to bloodborne pathogens. Viruses like hepatitis and HIV can be transmitted this way. And if you're tending to your own injury, using gloves helps prevent infection from dirt, bacteria, or other contaminants. This is why first responders always use gloves. They know the risks of working without them. Here's another angle. You're dealing with someone who's sick, maybe with something contagious like the flu, or even worse, a pandemic-level illness. Do you really want to be touching their bedding, dishes, or bodily fluids without protection? Absolutely not. Gloves give you the protection you need to safely care for them without increasing your own risk of exposure. In survival situations, gloves aren't just about hygiene. Imagine this. You're forced to deal with waste, human or animal, or maybe you need to handle chemicals, clean up after a spill, or even dispose of spoiled food. These tasks are risky, especially if you don't have access to soap and water right away. Disposable gloves allow you to handle these challenges without exposing your bare skin to potentially harmful substances. They're more than just convenient. They're a safety tool. Now let's talk about stockpiling gloves before an emergency strikes. A place like Costco sells bulk packs of gloves, Kirkland Signature nitrile gloves, for example, and buying a couple of boxes each time you shop is a smart move. Nitrile gloves are especially useful because they're strong, latex-free, so no worries about allergies, and resistant to chemicals, making them more versatile in a variety of situations. When disaster hits, people rush to stock up on the essentials, right? We all saw it with toilet paper, masks, and hand sanitizer during the recent pandemic. Gloves will be no different. Once people realize how important they are, the shelves will empty fast. The last thing you want is to be stuck in a crisis, needing gloves and finding out they're nowhere to be found. Trust me, you do not want to be that person left without this simple but essential item. Real-life example. Let's go back to the health crisis we all just lived through. Remember when PPE, personal protective equipment, was in short supply? Gloves were incredibly hard to find, and hospitals were even rationing them. People were scrambling to find any kind of protection they could get their hands on. Now imagine facing that again, whether it's another pandemic or a localized disaster. If you've prepared ahead by stockpiling gloves, you're not just protecting yourself, you're giving yourself peace of mind. Gloves are also a key component of your first aid kits. It's not enough to just have bandages and disinfectants. You need protection while applying them. In an emergency, you'll be dealing with wounds that could easily become infected, and without gloves, you're exposing both yourself and the injured person to unnecessary risks. Whether you're applying first aid to yourself, a loved one, or even a stranger, having gloves at the ready could be the difference between life and death when medical help is far away or unavailable. Anywhere you might need them, keep a stash in your emergency kits, your car, your kitchen, your bug-out bag, essentially anywhere you're likely to need them in a hurry. They don't take up much space, they're lightweight, and they're incredibly affordable, but their value in an emergency is priceless. In survival situations, small things make a big difference. Gloves might seem like a minor item, but when things go sideways, they can protect you from infections, dangerous chemicals, and unsanitary conditions. They're easy to store, cheap to buy in bulk, and they can literally save your life in a pinch. Don't underestimate the power of this simple prep. It could be one of the most important things you have on hand. Number 4. Dried beans. If you haven't stocked up on dried beans yet, you're missing out on one of the most reliable and essential items you can have in your pantry. Let me explain why. When things go wrong, you'll need a steady, dependable source of protein, and dried beans are the answer. These little powerhouses last for years if stored properly, so you're not just planning for short-term survival, you're setting yourself up for the long haul. Why are dried beans such a smart choice? For starters, they're incredibly versatile. You don't want to be stuck eating the same boring meals every day, right? Dried beans can be turned into soups, stews, chili, or even served as a simple side. Pair them with rice, and you've got a complete protein that will keep you fueled through tough times. It's more than just survival. It's about keeping yourself healthy and satisfied with hearty meals that don't take much to prepare. And here's a tip. Every time you head to Costco, grab a bulk bag of Kirkland's Signature organic black beans or pinto beans. These come in big resealable bags, so they're easy to store in airtight containers or Mylar bags for the long term. Plus, the price is unbeatable. For just a few dollars, you're securing food that can last for weeks, even months, in a crisis. Here's why this matters. In an emergency, protein sources are the first to disappear from store shelves. Fresh meat will be gone in hours, and whatever's left will spoil fast without electricity. But dried beans? They're shelf-stable, waiting for you to cook up a nutritious meal when others are scrambling for whatever's left. You'll have a valuable food supply right at home. Look around at what's been happening. Natural disasters, food shortages, supply chain issues. These aren't rare anymore. You don't want to be caught with an empty pantry when the next crisis hits. Dried beans are one of the best prep items you can have because they store easily, are packed with nutrition, and will keep you well-fed no matter what's going on outside. Pro tip: be smart with your storage. Store dried beans in large buckets with oxygen absorbers, or vacuum seal them in smaller portions for convenience. Either way, they'll last for years, giving you peace of mind that you're ready for anything. Remember, dried beans aren't just for survival, they're a powerhouse food loaded with protein, fiber, and essential nutrients, all in one affordable package. So, next time you're at Costco, load up on those bulk bags of dried beans. Once you've stocked your pantry and prepared for any situation, you'll appreciate your decision. Trust me. Number 5. Salt, the unsung hero of prepping. Let's talk about salt. Now, before you brush this off as just another kitchen ingredient, hear me out. Salt is more than just something that adds flavor to your food. It's a survival essential, and not having enough could be a huge mistake when emergencies hit. First off, salt is crucial for your health. Your body needs it to maintain electrolyte balance, support your nerves, and keep your muscles working, especially in high-stress situations. Imagine a scenario where you're hauling supplies or building shelter. You'll sweat more, losing vital minerals, and without enough salt, you risk dehydration and muscle cramps. This could seriously affect your ability to cope when things get tough. But that's not all. Salt is one of the oldest and most reliable ways to preserve food. Think about it. If the power goes out and you can't use your fridge, how will you stop your meats and perishables from spoiling? With a good supply of salt, you can cure and preserve meats, fish, and even some vegetables, keeping them edible for months or even years. In a long-term crisis, this could be the difference between having food and going hungry. Here's something that might surprise you. Throughout history, salt was so valuable it was used as currency. Yes, salt was once as good as gold. In a situation where money becomes worthless and bartering takes over, having extra salt could give you serious bargaining power. Imagine trading something as simple as salt for other vital supplies or services. While others scramble, you'll be ahead of the game. You don't need to spend a fortune either. Stores like Costco sell large containers of sea salt or Morton salt, perfect for long-term storage. These bulk quantities can last you and your family for a very long time. And the best part? You can get several pounds for just a few bucks. It's one of the most cost-effective prepping investments you can make. So, next time you're in the store, toss an extra container or two in your cart. A small expense now could save you big time later. Salt isn't just for eating or preserving food either. It has so many other uses in an emergency. Need to disinfect a wound? A saltwater solution can clean minor cuts when medical supplies are low. Got a sore throat? Gargling salt water helps. In icy conditions, salt can melt ice and make paths safer. You can even use it in homemade cleaning products or toothpaste. Salt is a multi-purpose tool you'll be glad you have. So, to everyone watching, especially if you think you're already prepared, take a closer look at your supplies. Do you have enough salt to cover all these needs? If not, now's the time to fix that. Don't wait until it's too late to realize how important this humble mineral really is. In our comfortable everyday lives, it's easy to overlook things that are readily available. But when resources are scarce, you'll be thankful you stocked up on salt. It's a small, simple step that could make a huge difference in your preparedness. Number 6. Honey, the ultimate prepper's gold. If you're serious about prepping, honey is an absolute must-have for your stockpile. And I'm not just talking about those small honeybees you grab for your tea. I'm talking about bulk containers that will see you through any crisis. Here's why honey is so much more than just a sweet treat. It's practically liquid gold. First, honey has an incredibly long shelf life. I'm not exaggerating when I say it never goes bad. In fact, archaeologists have discovered honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that's still edible after thousands of years. Imagine that. In a world where most food spoils within months or even weeks, honey is one of the few foods you can rely on to last forever. This makes it a critical item for long-term storage, especially in times of disaster when food might be hard to come by. But let's dig deeper into what makes honey so essential. It's not just something you eat. Honey has natural medicinal properties that make it invaluable. It acts as a natural antibiotic, which is a game changer in a survival situation. If you get a cut, scrape, or burn, just apply some honey to the wound. It helps prevent infection and can even speed up the healing process. This isn't just a home remedy. Studies have shown that honey's antibacterial properties are real. So when medical supplies are running low, or if you can't access healthcare, honey becomes your go-to for treating minor wounds. It's like having a portable first aid kit in a jar. Now, let's talk about energy. In a high-stress or survival situation, staying fueled and energized is crucial. Honey is packed with natural sugars that give you a quick, reliable energy boost. If you're out of food or trying to ration your supplies, a little honey can go a long way in giving you the calories you need to keep going. Drizzle it over bread, stir it into your oatmeal, or even just eat a spoonful on its own. It's a natural energy source that won't let you down when you need it most. But there's more. Honey also has a range of other uses beyond just food and medicine. It can help soothe sore throats, calm a cough, and even boost your immune system. When you're in a survival scenario, getting sick can be dangerous, so having a natural remedy like honey on hand is incredibly valuable. Plus, it's a great addition to your tea or coffee, making those limited moments of comfort a bit sweeter. When it comes to preparing, versatility is key, and honey delivers that in spades. You can even use it in baking if you're able to make bread or other goods during a crisis. It's a natural preservative, meaning it can help extend the shelf life of homemade foods. And let's not forget that honey is a great source of antioxidants, which are important for keeping your body strong and fighting off illness in stressful times. Now, when you're stocking up on honey, don't just go for the little bottles. You'll want to think bigger. Places like Costco sell bulk containers of honey, like Kirkland's Signature Pure Clover Honey, in several pound sizes. These large containers are budget-friendly, and because of honey's infinite shelf life, they'll last you indefinitely. It's an investment that pays off, whether you're preparing for a short-term emergency or thinking about long-term survival. And there's one more important thing to consider: bartering. If the economy crashes or cash becomes useless, honey will be incredibly valuable. You'll have something that's not only nutritious and long-lasting, but also highly sought after. In a barter economy, honey could become a premium commodity. You could trade it for other essential supplies, services, or even protection. By stockpiling honey, you're not just preparing food, you're preparing currency. To wrap it up, honey isn't just a luxury or a sweet treat, it's a prepper's dream. It lasts forever, helps heal wounds, provides energy, and can be traded like gold in a crisis. If you're serious about prepping, make sure honey is a staple in your stockpile. Number 7, stock up on socks, That's right, socks. I know what you're thinking. Why in the world would socks be on my prep list? It might seem like an odd choice, but hear me out. When you're preparing for emergencies, you've got to think about the small things that can make a huge difference in your comfort and survival. And trust me, socks are one of those things you don't want to overlook. Let's paint a picture. Imagine the power's out, it's freezing cold, and you've got no choice but to hike to the nearest emergency shelter. Or maybe you need to haul water from a nearby creek because your pipes are frozen. Whatever the scenario, your feet are going to go through a lot. If you don't have quality socks to protect them, each step is going to feel like torture. Blisters, cold, wet feet, it's all a recipe for misery, or worse, infection. Now, I'm not just talking about grabbing any old socks from your drawer. You need high-quality socks that are designed for tough conditions, and that's where Kirkland's signature merino wool socks from Costco come in. These socks are an absolute game changer. Why? Because they're made from merino wool, which is perfect for survival situations. Let me explain why. Moisture wicking. Your feet sweat even in the cold, and merino wool pulls that moisture away, keeping your feet dry. Dry feet are happy feet, and more importantly, dry feet are safe from things like blisters, fungus, and trench foot. Temperature regulation. Merino wool is like magic. It keeps you warm when it's cold, but doesn't overheat your feet when it's warm. So, whether you're in freezing conditions or mild weather, your feet stay comfortable. Breathability. Unlike synthetic socks, merino wool breathes. This means your feet won't feel suffocated or swampy, even if you're moving around a lot. And guess what? Costco sells them in bulk at a great price. When you're prepping, buying in bulk is always a smart move. And with these socks, you're getting top-tier quality. But let's dive a little deeper into why this is such a crucial item for your prep stash. Foot care is often overlooked in survival situations. People stock up on food, water, and flashlights, but they forget that their feet are their main mode of transportation if things go south. You could have all the survival gear in the world, but if your feet are wrecked, you won't get very far. Think about it. In a crisis, you might have to walk long distances to find supplies, get help, or even evacuate your home. If you're wearing cheap, worn-out socks that let moisture in or offer no support, your feet are going to suffer. Blisters might seem like a minor issue now, but when you're walking miles and miles, they can become debilitating. Worse, if your feet get wet and cold, you could be looking at trench foot, a painful, dangerous condition caused by prolonged exposure to moisture and cold. And trust me, once you've got trench foot, you're not going anywhere fast. The military learned this lesson the hard way during World War I. Soldiers in the trenches suffered horribly because of wet, cold conditions. Many of them were incapacitated because they didn't have the right foot protection. If trained soldiers can be taken out by foot issues, imagine what it could do to an unprepared person in a survival situation. But it's not just about survival in extreme situations. Even if you're stuck at home during a snowstorm or a power outage, nothing beats the comfort of warm, reliable socks. When the heat's off and the house is getting cold, warm socks can make all the difference in your comfort level. Merino wool socks will keep your feet toasty while you're holed up at home, rationing canned food and boiling water for your instant coffee. And remember, these socks are durable. They're built to last, which is key in any long-term survival situation. You don't want to be worrying about your socks falling apart when you need them the most. Plus, buying them in bulk at Costco means you'll have extra pairs on hand for family members or as a backup. So, next time you're at Costco, make sure to toss in a pack of Kirkland's signature merino wool socks. They could be the unsung heroes of your survival kit. You'll thank yourself when your feet are warm, dry, and blister-free, while everyone else is suffering from cold, wet toes. In a long-term survival scenario, having good socks could make all the difference. Don't overlook this essential item. Because, let's face it, if your feet aren't happy, you're not going to be happy either. Number 8. Coffee, your secret survival weapon. Hey there, if you're watching this and you're one of those people who can't even think straight without a morning cup of coffee, you're in the right place. Now, I want you to imagine a world where everything's gone sideways. Maybe the power grid is down, food supplies are low, and suddenly, just like that, your access to coffee disappears. No more running to the kitchen to get that daily caffeine fix. Sounds like a nightmare, doesn't it? But here's what a lot of people don't realize. Coffee isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity in tough times. And here's why. Think about an emergency situation. You're likely stressed, sleeping poorly, and maybe doing manual labor you're not used to, like chopping wood, setting up makeshift shelters, or maintaining a garden. The mental and physical fatigue will hit hard, and when it does, you'll be glad you stocked up on coffee. That caffeine boost will help keep you focused, alert, and energized when every ounce of energy counts. It's not just about the energy boost, though. Coffee can also be a key tool for managing stress and mental health in a crisis. Picture this. Everything around you is chaotic, but brewing a cup of coffee can offer a small moment of calm. It's a comforting ritual, something that brings a sense of normalcy when nothing else feels normal. And let's face it, during a long-term disaster, mental health is just as important as physical survival. Let's not forget another critical point: withdrawal. If you're someone who drinks coffee regularly, you know how bad those caffeine headaches can get if you go without. Now imagine dealing with those withdrawal symptoms on top of everything else in an emergency. Definitely not something you want to experience. That's why it's smart to stock up on coffee now, while you can. Costco's Kirkland Signature Colombian coffee is a great option for preppers. It comes in bulk, and it's affordable. You're not getting the fancy stuff, but in a survival scenario, that Colombian blend is going to taste like liquid gold. Stored properly, coffee has a surprisingly long shelf life. Keep it in a cool, dark place, sealed tight, and you'll have a reliable stash for years. Every time you hit Costco, grab a tin or two, and you'll be building an emergency caffeine arsenal that will come in handy when the grid goes down. And let's talk about bartering. Coffee isn't just something you'll want to keep for yourself. In a long-term survival situation, coffee will be one of the most valuable trading tools out there. Think about it. People are going to crave caffeine, and they'll be willing to trade food, fuel, or even medicine for a few cups of coffee. It's not just about survival, it's about comfort, and that makes coffee a powerful currency in tough times. Now, I know what you're thinking. If the power's out, how am I going to make my coffee? Don't worry. There are plenty of ways to brew coffee without electricity. A simple camping stove works wonders. You can also use a French press if you have one. If you don't have heat, you can even make cold brew. It just takes a little more time. Where there's a will and a serious coffee craving, there's always a way. Another thing to consider, coffee isn't just about keeping yourself going. It's also about morale. Sharing a cup of coffee can be a way to strengthen community bonds in a crisis. If you're in a group survival situation, something as simple as brewing a pot of coffee can create a moment of unity, where people can relax for a second, take a deep breath, and reset before getting back to work. So, here's the deal. One tin of coffee might get you through a short-term emergency, but for a long-term situation, you'll need a real stockpile. Whether you're using it to keep yourself sane, trading it for vital supplies, or just hoarding it because you know its value, coffee is essential. And remember, folks, we're not talking about nice-to-haves here. Coffee is one of those items you'll wish you had once the going gets tough. Don't wait until it's too late to start building your coffee stash. Next time you go to Costco, make sure to add a few tins to your cart. Little by little, you'll have a stockpile that'll keep you going through the roughest times. If there's anything else you think should be on the list of essential preps, drop it in the comments. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're always up to date with the latest prep tips. Stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you next time.